HIMYM really taught me a lot about how to love, how to be a man, especially how to be a man. You know, growing up with a very religious, toxic, abusive father was very difficult for me, and so I really hid my emotions. I was taught it wasn't okay to cry, it wasn't okay to be vulnerable, but Ted taught me that. And also being disabled, having cerebral palsy and autism, HIMYM taught me how to properly interact with people and how to read social cues and all that stuff. So it made me become a better communicator, it made me become a better friend, it made me become a better lover. Not just in the romantic sense, but in a proper platonic sense as well. So, thank you, Josh. Thank you, Carter. Thank you, Craig. Thank you to the whole team. I will continue watching the show forever because it's, wait for it, legendary.
I'm alone. What a pity I won't be soon in New York City. When I see you, please permit me to tell you everything in New York City.
Wow. Well, Alec, our producer, warned us that was a crusher of a letter, and it certainly was. What an extraordinary thing to let us know. Thank you so much for that. I am Josh Radnor. Hello. Welcome to another episode of How We Made Your Mother, where we discuss the television program How I Met Your Mother, which ran from 2005 to 2014. I played Ted Mosby on that show for all 208 episodes. The show was co-created by Carter Bays and my co-host, the beloved Craig Thomas. Hi, Craig.
Hey, Joshy. Boy, that one got me. That letter really, really, really got me. I am so trying to recover to get it together, but I want to.
Yeah. I want to be
that
friends
one really
with that
got
guy.
me.
Yeah.
I want to be friends with him too. He is our friend. We are
Yeah.
friends, and thank you so much for sharing that experience. My God, I thought it would be our guest that would make me cry, just having today's guest. But then Alec has to sucker punch us on the way in with this beautiful letter, and now I'm like crying. I thought simply having today's guest would burst into tears of joy.
Well, we often have very special episodes of How We Made Your Mother, but today is a very, 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 very extra special episode of How We Made Your Mother, because we have the mother of all mothers, the director of the show, our beloved and forever friend, Pam Fryman is here. Hi, Pam.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Hi, friends. That
Hi.
letter was perfection.
Can you believe it? It's so beautiful.
It's overwhelming.
Like the best part of this is hearing from the fans. I feel like the show is a way to just connect with people like what we just heard, and like just what an honor, right? To hear that the show meant that.
All these years later, yeah.
And it really does feel like we made a thing, and we put, it's like you make anything, it's like you put a bottle out in the ocean and you just hope someone gets the message inside it. Yeah. And it really just feels like it belongs to the fans now, and including, there are all these theories, Pam, that we're hearing that we've asked Carter and Craig directly. Did you mean to do this? Did you mean to do this color scheme thing? There's a whole conspiracy theory about the colors and what they mean. And it's kind of like they didn't mean to, but they did on some subconscious level. We're talking about dream logic here, right, Craig?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something that comes out, and like you hear a crazy thing, and then you're like, actually, there is something kind of to that. It's really cool that the show is studied at that level. And by the way, just to back it all the way up here, well, today we'll talk a little bit about the episode in question that we're up to, which is Mary the Paralegal, which is a really funny episode. But we'll also just talk about Pam. Like, oh my God, how we met Pam. Like, Pam, one of the earliest believers in this thing. Carter and I were these two little boys. These two guys, I think, were in fifth grade
short pants.
when we met you. Short little pants, little beanies with propellers on them.
Truly.
And we're like, would you read my script, little lady? You're pretty and seem like an adult.
Sitting in a Starbucks, just waiting.
Yes.
The two of
That
you.
is how we met Pam Fryman. Yeah. And we heard
I
liked
was
the
told,
script.
by the way, I was told to go meet these two guys at Starbucks, and I walked in, and there were all these tables, and there were two guys at each table. And I was like, Pam?
Yeah,
Your whole
really
life
hoping
could
it
have
was-
changed if you went to the wrong table.
I know, and by the way,
Exactly right.
they all had pilot scripts to show you in Los Angeles.
that were written in that Starbucks. Pam, tell us what your experience was. Do you remember reading the pilot?
I certainly remember reading the pilot. And it was unlike any other pilot. And it was so funny, but the heart got me. The heart got me. And it was just a show I wanted to watch more than anything. So when the opportunity, that I was just lucky that they found me and that I got a chance to meet them. And once you sit down with Carter and Craig, you're in. You're in.
Pam, one of the things we hear over and over again about the show, we're trying to uncover like what is the enduring part of the show, and I think time and again, and we heard it in the opening, it's the heart part, and you as the director guarded that so religiously, I think, that aspect, and said, don't sell it all out to the jokes. Don't make it too snarky. You let moments breathe. Josh and I keep talking about this all the time about his performance on the show. And like when Ashley Williams was on, we talked about their, like drum roll, please, like an episode like that. And there's certain episodes of the show where I go, I'm proud of how few jokes there are in this episode, meaning we let those emotional moments breathe. You seemed to understand that was the key to this show succeeding, maybe before Carter and I did.
I don't know. I don't know how much credit I can take. I just know what I loved and what resonated with me and with Josh Radnor, who put his hand on his heart. And we, once he did that, when he made that move once, that was like our sign to each other for the next 200 episodes.
Yeah. It's funny, Pam, when you say it was a show you wanted to watch, I have this experience sometimes, whether something gets sent to me as an actor or a director, if I really love it, and there is that feeling like, I want to watch this, but I want to watch the best version of this, and I love it in such a way that I might be the person that is the right person to bring this to life because I feel the heartbeat of it. And it's almost like you step in because you want to protect it or you want the best version of it to come to life. Was there something like, because at that point, we can talk a little about your career, but you had your pick of pilots, right? Like you were sent a ton of pilots. You could pick what you wanted to do, and you landed on this one. And part of it, I sense, is that you felt that pulse in it.
Well, I think that's all true. And one of the great things about this is that Carter and Craig were very young, hadn't done it a lot. And I knew that I could add some experience. I could help them sort of shepherd. I could be the adult in the room a little bit. And you guys, there were no rules. You were just doing what you instinctively knew would be funny and would be beautiful. And we had craft service. You guys were more excited about that than I think anything. It was all just, everything was just unbelievable.
We got free food. I didn't know that was going to be part of it.
And I wrote you this little ditty to sing to you in New York City.
We'll be right back.
Now, Josh, I don't get stopped on the street often. For any reason, really. Although I did recently get recognized for the podcast. Somebody that watches the podcast on YouTube recognized me in a store, but that doesn't relate to the story at all.
How'd that feel?
But it was thrilling. It was thrilling, and then I was like, please respect my privacy. I was a real jerk about it.
Yeah.
No.
You went through every round of being a celebrity, like every stage of being a celebrity in like 30 seconds.
In this one interaction. Yeah. No, but I really did get stopped. This is a true story. This is a Vessi true story, a Vessi shoe-based true story. I was walking my daughter to school, and some guy who looks kind of like my stunt double, like another sort of exhausted dad with a young daughter, and he's like, "I like those shoes." and he points to my Vessi shoes, and he's like, those are cool because it looks like you could like walk your daughter to school, walk your dog, which is what I was doing. He's like, but you could like put on like dress those up a little bit, put on a blazer, you could wear them out to someone. I was like, and I basically did an ad for Vessi to this one guy on the street.
Was this the same guy who recognized you from the podcast?
It was not. It was not.
Oh. So your face got recognized and then your shoes got complimented.
Yeah, it was. I wish I could say it was all the same day because that would have been a great day. But no, this was entirely shoe-based. This guy had no idea who I was. And I basically performed what we're doing right now for him one-on-one.
It's very exciting. You know, it's been raining in New York City, and I'm getting a lot of mileage out of my Vessi raincoat.
That is a very stylish and breathable, light, great raincoat. And these shoes are also breathable, light, very easy to put on and off. I'm so lazy. I love how easy they're to put on and off, and they are waterproof with all the rain. So that's our little Vessi story. Listen, guys, here's the other thing we're going to say about it. Make every day a little easier. Visit vessi.com/yourmother now for 15% off your first pair at checkout and start exploring with confidence. Embrace every journey, rain or shine, with Vessi.
Craig,
Josh,
are you enjoying your Quince products that you have in your closet these days?
I'm enjoying them so much, Josh, and so much so that I'm giddy. I'm giddy, damn it. I'm going to read what they told me to say now, but it's coming from the heart. Hey, Josh, with Quince, you can get a high-end style upgrade with versatile pieces at prices that don't break the bank.
Quince has all the must-haves, like Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50, iconic 100% leather jackets, and comfortable pants for every occasion.
Here's the best part. All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us.
And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. Respect to that. I bought a few extra items of Quince stuff, like a couple pairs of jeans, stuff beyond. They sent us a couple things, and then I like them so much, I bought more.
You became a Quince man.
I'm a Quince man now. It's happened.
Indulge in affordable luxury. Go to quince.com/yourmother for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/yourmother to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/yourmother. And now, back to the show. Pam, was there any negotiation between these guys are actually, like we've talked that some of the brilliance of it is they didn't know any better. Like they didn't know you couldn't do XYZ. But you had been around the world of sitcoms and you apprenticed with James Burrows, right? Like that was part of your kind of education of coming up but it feels like you had you were standing on the shoulders of people who that kept moving the form forward. And I think that How I Met Your Mother really did move the form forward. Was there any negotiation with, okay, these guys want to try to do something new, but also we have to honor the conventions of this thing at the same time? Was that ever a tension?
I think so. And I think we weren't focused on the something new as much as making the best version of what was created. And when we went to do it, we realized that we couldn't rely on what we had done forever, that it was written in such a specific and such a different and such a great way that we ended up taking 4 days to shoot the pilot without an audience and decided that if we got picked up, we'd never get picked up, but if we got picked up, we'd probably have an audience. And then when we finished and it was picked up, it was like, we want the show that you shot. And in order to give them that show, we had to make it a hybrid. We had to make it a multicam when it required it, and make it a single cam when it required it, stay inside, go outside, do all of these things that kind of blew up the convention of a multicam to serve How I Met Your Mother. And that's what made it so unique.
Was that a tough negotiation? Do you remember with the studio and network to throw out the live audience and tape night kind of format?
Well, she just to say it, she had to explain it to me and Carter first, because Carter and I like wrote this like 70-page, 70 scene pilot, and we're like, we can still basically do this in front of an audience with a few pre-tapes, and like Susie and Pam had to be like, let me explain how TV works to you guys.
Kids, let me tell you something about television.
Kids, they sat us on the couch as kids. And there was like so clearly no way it could be what it was on the page and shoot the traditional way. And you guys really had to explain that to us at a certain point. Like, no, lean into it. It has to be something new.
I remember I was actually in New York once we got picked up, and I got a call from Dana Walden. I had stopped to get something to eat. I got a call from her, and we had a conversation about audience and no audience. And I said, if you want what you just saw, no audience.
Yeah.
And we'll make it work. And she was on board.
Bringing it back to those quiet moments and the emotional moments and the heart. Like I think that is a real positive side effect of not having a big bleacher full of 200 people to play to. I really do think it makes a difference.
Yeah. We've talked a lot, Pam, on the show about that. There was something, it was tough to be inside of because you couldn't depend, you know, the crew would laugh once. They'd chuckle maybe again, and then you were just having to trust that you were landing your jokes. You had to almost hear the laughter like in your mind because the laughter was piped in afterwards. But I always maintain that it kept us from being overly amped up. It kept us grounded in this almost like much more cinematic, realistic way. So when we got to, you know, we just did Nothing Good Happens After 2 a.m., which is such a good episode and such a darkly funny episode without a ton of jokes. But it's the kind of episode where you have 18 episodes behind it, like pulling the arrow back, you know, on the bow, and it just sails. So it's got so much momentum. But I think like the kind of acting that's done between that me and Kobe were doing, that me and Ashley were doing in that episode is it would be really hard to do that with like 200, you know, people eating sweet tarts. Like, it's just like, it was just a different,
It's true.
It was just a different vibe on the set, you know?
It was a completely different vibe. The jokes, to me, the jokes would never have been satisfying for an audience because they happened on the edit so many times.
Yeah.
Right.
And it allowed us to have all of these sets and all of this time to get it right. And we always had great writers on stage as well as Carter and Craig, and you could feel it. And you guys were reacting to each other, which was so great. And we all knew when we had it. That was it, and it happened so quickly. It wasn't like we needed the first season to get the rhythm. It just happened so organically.
Yeah.
And when you look at all of these episodes, because I've been watching with you guys, my God, that first season was unbelievable.
It's good. It holds up. It knows what it is right away.
There's some real bangers in that first season. We're pretty impressed with what we were able to do that first season.
Yeah.
Craig, can you just talk a little bit, and maybe Pam too, about it's not unheard of, and I know, Pam, that you've actually done it yourself, but most television shows do not have a single director directing 99.9% of the shows. You have maybe some in the first season, and then you start cycling them in, and the show has its own rhythm and its own feel, and so a new director has to be a part of that. They're serving that feel. But this was a very, very different situation. Can you talk a little bit about the choice to do that? Or Craig, was it never a decision? It was like, Pam, we just want you to stay forever, please.
Oh, I mean, it was 100% that. I mean, I can't explain that. Going back to that Starbucks for a minute, when Pam walked in, it was just like, we love her. We had heard every amazing thing about her that turns out to be true, and then some when you really work with her and meet her. And then she was the in demand. She was the belle of the ball every pilot season, and everyone was like, "You're not going to get her. You're not going to get her. You're not going to get her." Pam has 20 other offers. Why would she go with the script that like two 29-year-old guys who've never run a TV show wrote? Maybe we were just 30. Why would she choose? What kind of idiot would choose that one to direct? And it turned out Pam was.
Do you know what it is? It's another love story connected to this show, because for me, you know, and I fell in love, and it turned out I didn't want to share it with anybody, and I wanted to be there every week.
Yeah.
I mean, every day driving onto that lot was the best experience. I mean, it was.
You know, something you I think helped the whole cast, and I'm sure Carter and Craig with, was because you had such a sampling of the many varieties of how TV shows can be, what the egos can be like, what the schedule can be like, and you were constantly reminding us this is wonderful. Like I had less to compare it to, you know, and it was really like there was this constant, in addition to all the other many incredible things you were doing just professionally, just personally, you would pull us aside and it was always like, remember, like, to pinch ourselves. This is a really good job. We have something very special here. And your presence and fidelity and dedication to the show, the fact that you didn't want to go anywhere when you could have been anywhere else, was a signal to us like, oh, this is a good gig. This is like something to really take seriously. This is something to value. This is something to just feel very grateful for. And I'm grateful for you for helping me stay in that space.
It was lovely to be able to sort of parent the five of you, especially my friend Josh, who in the beginning.
And me and Carter too. We were all the same age.
Yeah, but in the beginning, Josh, I remember it was so overwhelming to say, you're going to be on a show and people are going to stop you in the street. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, and I think especially it was, you know, Kobe was new to it, but there was something, I don't know, there's something about Kobe. She's just a little to the manner born, you know, like she just kind of stepped into it a little more effortlessly than I did. And Allie
very graceful.
And Neil and Jason they had public things. They had people stop them in airports and on the street. They were a little more used to that. This was my first go at this. This was my first, you know, when I did The Graduate, I was famous on a half block of West 45th Street from, you know, 10 o'clock to 10:15 every night. And then I rounded the corner and I was back to being anonymous. So, you know, this was really new to me and it was very destabilizing, as you remember. And you were really, you couldn't have been more kind and loving to me throughout all that. And also I remember very strongly you telling me this isn't going to give you everything you need artistically. You're going to have to do other stuff to supplement this wonderful, wonderful job, which really edged me into, you know, making my own movies and really creating this kind of multi-hyphenate life that I live now today. So just endlessly grateful to you. You know how much I love you, but I'd like to say it on the record.
And I'm wildly proud of you.
Well, I felt undermined by you the whole time.
Do you remember, we talked about it. Do you remember do you remember meeting me? Let's talk about meeting me. You do.
I do. I do.
What was that like?
I remember that whole process. It was just so fun to read something and then to meet you and go, yes.
Right.
Because you lead with your heart. You always lead with your heart. And it's talk about a tricky role to play.
Well, it was also, I mean, we've talked about it, but I was the first person on the first day of auditions, which must have been a little weird to go, wait, I think this is the guy, but we haven't seen any other guys, right?
Gosh, I remember all of those auditions. I remember Neil coming in and throwing himself against the wall and all that crazy stuff.
Yeah. Do you think we've been talking a little bit about, I think that sometimes we overvalue effort and we overvalue things like, you know, a struggle, or I saw 1,000 people before we found our person. Like sometimes when things are right, you almost have to kick the tires a little bit to see, because sometimes you're like, how could it be that easy? How could the cast just come together so perfectly? How could, you know, Craig loves Buffy. How did Allie say yes? Like there were just certain things that dropped into place in a somewhat effortless way. And it can be hard, I think, to trust that. But I think in this case, it was to be trusted. The right people signed on for the right roles.
It was absolutely to be trusted. And what we learned was that the effort was taking this gargantuan series and fitting it into 3 days. Hats off to Michael Shea and Susie and everybody else. But that was, to get it done was really something. And we did every week.
Yes, and thank you, Pam, thank you for not being scared off by how ambitious the show was. It was written so recklessly and with such like abandon, like kind of guileless, abandon. Like we didn't know any better, so we just wrote what we wanted to see. You could have seen that and been like, "Who the hell are these guys?" and run screaming from it. Even after the pilot, like the pilot 4-day big beast of a shoot, you're like, "No, I want that challenge." Susie was the same way. Our whole creative team and the cast were just up for the challenge. And I think Josh is right. There was something effortless about it. Was like the script was its own little magnet that drew people to it. It was bigger than Carter or me or any of us, and it was like, God, it felt a little bit magical. I mean, it did. It felt magical. It felt like it called the right people.
And you realize that 9 years is a long time, and there are always so many changes behind the scenes. There were so few changes on our show, specifically really on stage. Couple people, we lost a couple of people, but everybody wanted to be there. Everybody. And when there was something tricky to shoot, everybody's hand went up. Let me do it. Yeah. Let me do it. It was like we owned it. We owned it.
This is just, I haven't thought about this in years, but was Chris camera A? Not Chris.
Chris Condi?
Yes.
Chris Condi was X. Yes.
Oh, X, right.
She was X camera. Yeah.
So I remember when there were 3 cameras going and her camera wasn't on, she would always like frame up something really beautiful to look at.
Always.
Like an incredible, like a portrait or like a shot that there was such like, she's literally like stepping away for a shot. Like she doesn't need to be there because her camera's not on, right. But she would give you guys something at the monitor to look at. And I always thought that was like something so sweet and delicate and beautiful that didn't need to be done.
Pride of ownership.
Right? It was kind of like we were trying to create an environment that was beautiful.
Because of you guys, everybody on that stage felt lucky. Everybody felt lucky to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you ever kick back like a Friday night, late at night and go, Jesus, I can't believe how much we shot in 3 days?
Yeah, seriously.
Often.
Almost every Friday night?
Every week. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were busy reading the next script going, wait, a music video? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Why are we in a mall? Why are we in an 80s mall, but it's the 90s in Canada, ostensibly? Like everything we did was so confusing. And you're like, yep, let's do it. We got this. We have a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could not scare you. We could not scare you away. And oh, how we tried so many times with our ambition.
Are there any episodes, whether it's first season or from any season, that you just kind of like are just top 3 moments on How I Met Your Mother? Like, I always think about us dancing in the rain for some reason after the hurricane episode.
There's so many moments, but drum roll, please, that you did not that long ago. I mean, can you beat that?
I remember you coming into my trailer and insisting that Ashley and I watch it after you got the cut.
Isn't that funny? Yes.
Yeah.
It there are way too many moments, really way too many moments to list. And that was part of what kept me there. There were constant moments where I would, as we were watching the cuts, it would be like, look at what we did.
Yeah.
Look at what we did.
Would you just talk me through this? Like, so would Sue do her own cut, like a rough assembly, right? And then who would watch it next? Would it be Carter and Craig would watch it next?
Me.
Oh, that would be you. So you'd get a director, like a pass, like a director pass.
Exactly. And I would never call a Sue Fetterman cut rough. Man,
right,
she was
just
the multiple Emmy-winning Sue Fetterman.
Unbelievable. But she had so much stuff to go through. A lot of times we would talk beforehand, so I could give her a heads up on, certain things. But it was me, and then it was the guys.
And was a lot of that cutting or tweaking or?
Yeah. It was. I actually did this. Look for this shot. Look for this. What if we do this? What if we pull this up? What if we, it was just. It's a director's cut.
Do you have weird, without Janet's like scripty book? Do you remember there's that famous? I don't know if you guys know this, but there's that famous press conference after LeBron had a game and someone asked him about a shot. and he said, well, you have to go back to, and he went back like 8 plays in the game, and he described everything that happened up and down the court for like 8 plays. And you realize, oh, he's an actual genius of basketball. Like he has photographic memory of every play leading up to the whatever play they're asking about. And did you have that kind of recall? Like if you would see something, I would have this in movies that I directed where I go, no, I remember Lizzie Olsen had a single teardrop down the left eye. We have to find it. I know it's in there. Did you have that where you would remember?
Absolutely. Don't ask me now, but at the time, absolutely. Because you're sitting there, you're watching everything. I've written things down, I've taken notes, and I'm so in it. But now when I'm watching these shows, as you guys are going through them, I'm like, oh my God, I so much I have forgotten. And yet I remember where the sets were on the stage, like the placement. It's like, yes, the answer to that question is yes, at the time, for sure.
Yeah.
Pam, one of your superpowers, I think, was making the cast feel so safe, I think, and also making Carter and I feel safe to try stuff. And again, you were one of the earliest votes for this pilot. You were one of the earliest people who put their hand up and said, yes, this will work, at a time when we didn't know what we were doing. You gave us a lot of confidence. How do you do that? It's such just a natural talent of yours. Like you had the ability with these 5 new people in this show, and we even talked about this with Ashley Williams, kind of parachuting in the middle of the season, needing to join a cast. You had such an intuition of who needed to hear what, when, who needed encouragement. If you had to dial something back, is that just like, can that be taught? You just have this like a very empathetic, intuitive sense of people, I think.
I'm a mom. I mean, that's kind of a lot of it. And I really did. I mean, that's who I am. That's how I approach things. Yeah. I guess I nurture, and I really, I know it sounds so trite, but I loved these 5 actors. They're a part of me. We fell, and I want to take care of them. And I do believe that if you nurture that kind of a relationship, and they know that they are seen and heard and valued, they want to be there. They want to do their best work. All of that.
That's how everybody in the crew felt
everybody. Too. It is such a team sport. And it's such a lucky seat to be in for me. I can't tell you how grateful I am, and people are still coming up to me to say great things about this show. It changed my life in such a beautiful way. It's just, and here we are together in 2025 because we still love each other, and because what we did so resonates. I mean, my God, how lucky is that?
And this old man, he must admit he fell in love with you. New York City.
And now, commercials. End of commercials. Back to show.
Well, we're so constantly struck by the meta kind of quality of, we were making a show about a guy's memories about these very special times that imprinted on his heart, these moments that were worth remembering and worth telling about and worth passing on to his kids. But we ourselves were imprinting these memories of the making of this show upon our heart at the same time. Like it exists on so many different strange levels of meaning, what this show is. And I just want to say, vis-a-vis, like the way you needed to talk to all 5 of us, those are 5 different languages. Like you didn't talk to me and Neil the same way. You didn't talk to Ali and Jason the same way. Like everyone requires a different kind of handling, or needs to be seen or appreciated in a different way, including the crew, including every single person on that set. And I did think that you have, and this is not something that can be taught. You can't get an MFA in this, like how to read a room, how to read people. And I just thought it's one of your real superpowers of helping people feel seen and heard so that they can do their best work, because we've all had experiences where we don't feel that. and I clench up. I get like I can't actually do my best work. So I'm just so grateful to you for that. I did want to ask you, directing a show like this, or even directing more generally, is I don't think a lot of people understand it. Generally directing, I don't know. I don't know if a lot of people understand what the job is. Do you have a way to describe your job, or how do you describe it? Like, when people who really don't know what it is, like, what would you say you do?
I get it done. I get it from the script to the TV in a very general sense.
General sense. We're all letting it up here.
You know, I'm sure you've talked about how the week works. You know, how you read it, you have a production meeting, you get, you know, whatever. We rehearse it, we fine tune it, we show it to everybody. And then more than anything, with the help of a spectacular AD, that team, we sit down and figure out, how do we get all of this done in this amount of time? And we move things around, which is one of the trickiest parts.
Yeah.
And then we say action, and for me, as you know, always looking at my watch as well as looking at the monitor, very aware of what the job is. I can't at the end of the week say, oh, sorry, we didn't get all of that accomplished. So I was very aware of the restraints of the schedule, but because we didn't have to worry about an audience, and because we had such a great freedom to explore when we were allowed to talk to each other, to talk to cameras, and to get everybody to be a part of it, to be able to say to a camera operator, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? Like, that's a great, you don't get to do that on a normal show. There's no time, but there's somebody who's behind that camera, who sees things in a certain way. I do too, but so do they. Let's get their take on this.
Right.
And we got to sort of empower everybody on that stage in the most profound way, to me, to get everybody to step up and take ownership of what we were creating. So we get to do all of that. You get to check these crossing off, giving you notes. By the end of it, I was texting Jason from my chair, because everybody had their phones. I was like, can you do this in this scene? And you just see him look at it and go, okay. It was just so magical. But get it done. And we got it done. We got it done.
You know, in grad school, I worked with a wonderful director named Ken Washington, and he told me that when he was younger as a director, he thought all the good ideas had to come from him or they didn't count. And as he got older, he realized good ideas can come from anywhere, and they should come from anywhere. You know, you're expanding your palette so much more if you ask the camera op, what do you think is the best way to get this shot? Right. You know, but it also, to take the architecture metaphor, it feels like Carter and Craig and the writing staff hand you a blueprint, right? And you're on some level, tell me if you agree with this or not, like a bit of the contractor. Like, you have to figure out how to build the building from the thing they gave you. They give you the specs, they give you, and you have to figure out, how do we bring this into form? How do we bring this into reality? Does that resonate?
It does, but the beauty is that the architects don't go away, and that every day we're meeting, so that when I put something up and show it to them, we can tweak it. And because it's like detective work, really. They've written this script upstairs. We haven't seen it because we're working on something else, and we get it. And all of a sudden we're like, okay, here's what I think you mean. Here's what I think will tell the story. And then the beauty is I get to do that and turn around and go, guys, what do you think? Are we on the same page? And most of the time we were, but sometimes they were like, how about this? And again, collaboration.
Yeah, it was so clever. All the writers felt that way, Pam, and I don't think that's necessarily how writers always feel about directors, if I may be so bold. Like, you were just so welcoming and open to trying stuff, and we would sit. You would have the writers sit right around you and just watch takes, and there's that quad split, the 4 shots, 4 different cameras on a big TV screen. And you would turn to us and say, what do you think? Or if we had a pitch, you'd say, let's give that a try. And then when you would go in and try and it wouldn't work, you wouldn't make us feel like assholes or anything. You'd be like, all right, we tried that, but that didn't.
Yeah.
You're always so kind. And if it did work, you'd be like, that's great. And also this other idea. And it was so safe of a creative space. We talk about this a lot on the podcast. I just don't believe in fear leading to good work. And there's this funny misconception, I think, in a lot of endeavors of all different shades and, corporate, artistic, whatever. And I think this is the tone you set on stage when we're creating something is proof positive that people feel valued and safe to pitch things and safe to try things. And everyone's idea could get on and could be the best idea. It doesn't matter who. That's a really wonderful thing. And that was really important as young writers who had not run their own TV show to feel with the director. I don't know what we would have done if after that pilot, you were like, I've got to go take these other 175 offers I have, and left us. And we'd had to sort of figure it out week to week with other directors and maybe not had that same dynamic. And the cast wouldn't have had that same feeling of safety and playfulness and curiosity. I think it's a different show. I just think it's a completely different show.
Yeah, but don't forget that you all made me better. You pushed me. It wasn't one-sided. I mean,
I don't want to fight about this, Pam. It's you. It's all you.
After all these years.
After all these years.
You did. You pushed me. You made me better. You forced me into uncomfortable situations, and I had to figure them out.
There was a lot of painting ourselves into corners, wasn't there? There was a lot of like, how do we get out of this one?
Well, there's a great quote from some sculptor says, your life must be, you have to ask yourself a question that you spend your whole life trying to figure out. And the only caveat is you must never be able to figure it out. Like there's something about an insoluble question or unsolvable question that it's like, as artists, like if something's too easy, it's almost like a difficulty of a puzzle or something. Like if it's too easy, it's not fun. It doesn't engage us. If it's too hard, it makes us give up. But there's a certain level of difficulty that I think as artists, like we want and we need, because it's enough of a pressure cooker that it pushes you towards innovation and outside the box thinking, and that we constantly had to do that. I also think vis-a-vis, I wanted to say, to having guest directors, like the culture on Stage 22 was very particular. There was a very particular tone that I think we just created this thing, and some guest stars just got it immediately and would waltz in and I think we actually, it was hard on some level to guest star, but we also made it pretty homey and fun for people to guest star. I think it would have been really hard to have had someone at the helm constantly changing. So I'm just echoing what Craig said, that it was so wonderful for the show to have your steadiness and your just there-ness. Your presence was so, your reliable there-ness was everything.
We love you, Pam. That's the theme of this episode. Here's how much we love you. We're not even going to talk about Mary the Paralegal at all, because we can't stop talking about how much we love you. And the last thing I'll point out before we should pivot to that episode for at least 10 minutes is that Pam left. I think you left 2.5 Men to come work with us, right? You were on the show 2.5 Men. That was by far the number one comedy. I think you were the main director on that. Right. She left the number one comedy, highest rated comedy on TV to come on to this weird experimental show written by two 30-year-olds with a cast of a bunch of newbies. Like Josh was newer to TV coach. Just the leap of faith that you took there. God.
Best decision.
Two things. One for me, and then one from someone I think Josh might want to introduce, because it goes right to everything that we've been saying here. Pam, I interviewed you, Pam, for the old version of this podcast. And something you said to me then has echoed anytime I've been on set, and it's so much of what Craig and Josh have been talking about. I asked you, we were talking about process of directing, same question Josh had, what do you do? And I said, well, what's the most important part for you? And you said, making sure that everyone's enjoying themselves, that was not taught to me in director's school. We didn't pause for a week and talk about everyone should be happy and having fun. And that of all the choices of character development, story development, schedule, budget, that was quickly your answer was clear, and is clear from this discussion, has affected me very much. So I thank you for it, but also just to tell the guys, this is her answer. This is what she was there for.
I will just tell you that it comes because I had done it for a while before that. Not all sets are like this. Not all sets are warm and fuzzy and all of that. And to be able to make that the mandate on stage 22. This is the nicest place you're ever going to work. We're going to work hard, but we're going to love each other and respect each other. To be able to create that, I mean, that's why you stay for 9 years.
I hope you're listening, young directors of the next generation, because we want more like that.
This brings us up to a recurring segment on the show that we like to call Questions and Observations from a clinical psychologist who's never seen How I Met Your Mother and also happens to be married to Josh.
Hi, Pam. I know we haven't had much time to connect in person, but I've heard so much about you. And the thing I've maybe heard most frequently was that on the set of How I Met Your Mother, you were the mother, that you were nurturing, that you were always working to make people feel safe and helping them live up to their artistic potential. So I was wondering if you could talk about that more specifically, if you were conscious of playing this archetype or if it was just intuitive for you, if you fall into this role on other sets or if it felt like you were particularly pulled into it on HIMYM for some reason. And then lastly, if you feel comfortable sharing, what were some of the unique ways you may have connected with or mothered in a certain way Josh and Craig, or maybe some of the other actors on set who you knew needed your support in order to live up to their potential on this show?
My God, why is she so smart? She's so smart. She's just so smart.
Now you're doing it to Jordana. You're doing it to Jordana now. You're being that person.
You're so nurturing towards my wife and her question.
It's true. I mean, by the way, this is me. This is, yes, intuitive. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Just really simple stuff. I can't exactly put it into words. I appreciate the opportunity of getting to mother people. I see, I think, what they may need, and not only can they get things from me, but in that process, I'm getting something back. And this particular place with these particular people made it so easy and so fulfilling. And I do, obviously, I'm myself on every set, but there are so many times when there are other layers, because I'm obviously not working in a vacuum, lots of producers, lots of, that prevent me from being my true self. I'm not the final word on everything, but on this particular show, everybody, and it stops with Carter and Craig, all these people had the biggest hearts and were compassionate and smart and wise and creative and all of those crazy, ridiculous, wonderful adjectives. So it made it was the perfect storm of wonderful. It was the perfect storm.
It also strikes me, though, that since you were there at the beginning, you got to help set the tone. You weren't brought into a kind of functioning factory of something that already had its own culture. You were asked to help institute and create the culture. So it's almost like, they say, like, if you don't like kids, it's like, well, you'll like your own kids. Like when you raise your own kids, they have a different quality to you, right? And this show was your kids. We were your kids.
And I, by the way, I still kind of feel that way. Kind of still feel that.
Yeah.
Very proud of my kids.
Thank you. How lucky are we to be?
I really am. Are we really not going to talk about this? Yeah, I feel like we have to. It's so funny.
Let's.
Did you watch it, Pam? Did you rewatch it?
I absolutely. Sandy Rivers, come on.
How did it feel to you rewatching it 20 years later, 19 years later? Yeah. What jumped out at you?
It just, looks that way. It was fantastic from beginning to end.
When I say that everyone, they would laugh, the crew would laugh once and then stop, not for looks that way. It killed at the table read.
Every time.
It killed at the run through. It killed at the rehearsal, and it killed when he did it.
We missed not doing a spinoff of Sandy Rivers, by the way. That was one of our. There's not too many regrets, but how much fun was Alexis Denisov having? And with this, you know what's funny too? There's that moment where where Lily kind of snaps at him. Lily, who has been deprived of her nap time at school. It was also her nap, not just the kindergartner's nap time, her nap time. She snaps at Alexis, and it's so funny just as a married couple. That's their first interaction, like on a TV, other than on like Buffy and Angel. And she's basically just tells him to shut the fuck up. And there's something that I just laughed so hard, just like that's their inaugural HIMYM interaction.
And everything in his hair, just all good.
This is so dumb. This is so dumb to say about actors. But I was watching it and I was like, Lily and Sandy Rivers look like they don't know each other. Like, I know they're playing characters, but they're married. They're married people, and they were just like doing such good acting. They're good actors. Yeah.
There was more product in his hair. I just remember going into hair and makeup, and it was just
so
fantastic.
Good. Marshall I've been hiding small items in his hair all night. Really surprised. I really forgot that he had been hiding. And then I remembered there was going to be that payoff, and you have to wait a while to get to the payoff. And when he turns and leaves, and there's little cocktail bells, worth it.
So, Alec, when did this episode air? What was the air date of this episode?
April 24th, 2006.
Coming up on May sweeps when that used to be a thing.
All of those telepathic conversations.
Wait, Craig, real quick, just tell our listeners what this episode's about. Just can you summarize it real quick for people, just to.
Right, yeah. So this is Robin has been nominated for a local area media award, or a LAMA, and the whole gang is going to go there. She is taking her fellow newscaster, Sandy Rivers, who's this incredibly cheesy newscaster, this like very full of himself, even though he's on this crappy little channel. And Robin is taking him as her date, and it makes Ted want to take a date too, because Robin and Ted are on the outs, and each wants to make the other jealous. And Barney says, well, you should take a paid escort. And Ted says no, and Barney delivers said paid escort to Ted anyway. And of course, the big twist.
Who happens to live in his building?
Never paid escort. Who happens to live in his building? Right. And at the end, she was not actually that. Barney was just completely fucking with Ted the whole time, and hilarity ensues. But there is this emotional through line of Robin and Ted that sort of gives this suspense and tension through the whole episode. Even though it's a kind of light, funny one in other ways.
Yeah. We've been talking, Pam,
Josh
about
at the hotel door.
I remember shooting that so well. But we've been talking about the kind of thing that Carter and Craig and the writers had to do a lot, which was you would have these episodes that had a comic conceit at the center of them. The comic conceit is that Ted thinks he's on a date with a prostitute, and it turns out he's not. I mean, that's the kind of core comedy engine. But you have this Ted, it furthers the emotional kind of drama of Ted and Robin, and them kind of using these dates to kind of like dig at each other. And it's pretty devastating. Robin's thanking her friends at the awards podium and not thanking Ted. Like, it moves the plot down the field, but it also is a standalone episode in its own way.
Absolutely. I mean, so character driven though. You learn so much.
It's hard to shoot. So that's also not your typical How I Met Your Mother episode where they were all together at this huge set, right? We built this huge kind of banquet hall set with a stage and all of these weird extras. And it's like the local area TV celebrities, including this weird vampire guy who's based on, I think, a guy named Superhost that used to host a local TV show in Cleveland when Carter was growing up. So that's if Carter loved getting to sort of do a version of this weird, like, but beloved local TV personality from Cleveland. And so what was it like? How do you hold on to the energy? Because shooting in one big place for a lot of the episode, I found that hard to do, hard to write anyway, and you're like moving the people around this big shared space. That was one of the first times we did an episode like that, right? All in one huge set. And obviously we pop around a bit, but
it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is there couldn't be an audience. Because you couldn't shoot something like that.
Yeah, because that ate up half the stage.
Right. You know, so we got to do it a little differently, a little better. And Josh will tell you, as soon as we started rolling, I'd yell, energy.
Because energy diffuses in those huge sets. Yeah.
Every take is the first take. You know, I mean, you really have to perform.
And then what people don't understand is like there's 50 or I don't know how many extras are just milling about, and they're miming and talking but not making noise. Like it's a strange thing, and then the mics are over the main characters trying to get I don't think people understand how, set culture is a whole different thing. One thing that I was struck with, I was thinking about Vampire Lou and Korean Elvis and Sandy Rivers. And I wonder, Craig, if you guys, it felt like, because I've been watching some old Simpsons, like it felt like how the Simpsons populates the town with these second and third kind of tier characters like Disco Stew and Mo and Barney and like all the, you know what I'm saying? Like you populate the town. And I felt like you guys did a really great job at creating these characters who were not part of the main five gang, but you could go back to the well, Ranjit being a great example, because we talked about it made New York feel like this small magical town, even though it's one of the biggest cities in the world.
I love I love the moments we got to do that because I think Robin's job gave you a lot of that. Like Robin's the lens on New York through like the small town news that is like there really is it's basically New York One, right? It's New York One in New York, and there really was a guy on there who he was not like Sandy Rivers, but he would read the headlines from the newspaper as one of the morning segments on the show. He may still be doing it. He's definitely still on New York One because I see this guy Pat Kiernan. I kind of love him. He's great. He's a New York celebrity, and just it feels like a small town at times. New York. It really does. And like people in subway ads and like local TV ads and stuff. I think the world has lost so much of that as the world gets more digital and stuff. But it's a small town, right? Your little slice of New York is your own little small town. And I think this episode had some of that in it. I love that feeling.
Yeah. I might have said this last episode, but was it in Nothing Good Happens After 2 a.m. where Sandy propositions Robin and says, having sex is fun? What was that? Was that in?
I think that was in there. Yeah.
But I think I just want to repeat that Alexis Denisof, I don't know how he does this, and I think it's kind of an actor magic trick. He is playing a buffoonish, broadly drawn character with deep and impressive subtlety. Like he's doing two things at once that it makes it so much funnier because you kind of feel like this could be an actual human. This would be a ridiculous human, but I believe that this is a human being, who made some choices somewhere along the way that got him to be Sandy Rivers. That's not his real name, but just shout out to Alexis. Such an incredible performance.
And a shout out to is Chris Harris, right? This is a Chris Harris show.
Yeah, Chris Harris, one of the all-time great HIMYM writers, wrote this one. I think this is his third one of season 1. And it's the introduction of Marshall saying lawyered, which we did 100 more times in 9 seasons. Lawyered, it's the introduction of telepathy, the characters speaking through telepathy. It's the first time we did that. I love that bit. And I love the magical realism that it really works at one point in this episode. Like Lily really hears it and she says, she's a prostitute. That was like, I love the sort of like absolute supernatural. She really can hear Marshall's thoughts. I love how many sort of first things. I do want to say there is one thing in here I really didn't like. I just want to say it because we're kind of owning some things. And there's a moment in here where Barney makes reference to like a prostitute where he uses a disparaging word for the trans community that I think 20 years ago we were too young and ignorant to realize you should not say. True. And it is a show of love. It is a show of heart. This was a rare moment where I think we got it wrong. And I think like looking back 20 years later, it just feels important to own some of those moments. I think at the time it was like, oh, there's sort of it's like a comedy thing you can say. No, it's not a good comedy word. It's not an acceptable thing to say. And I wanted to especially say it because of our beautiful opening message from that How I Met Your Mother fan who said he feels so seen. He has autism. He has cerebral palsy. He's a person living with those challenges. I became a parent of a kid with a disability between year 2 and year 3 of How I Met Your Mother. Pam, many deep talks were had. Talk about Pam knowing what people need and getting people through the hard times to still do the work. You were that for me very much in that moment. And just the way that changed my perspective on using certain words as if they're okay comedy words. The disability community has very strong opinions about that. And I've learned so much about that, and looking back on how maybe in my 20s or being in comedy writers' rooms, words are thrown about. And it's just interesting, even in a show, that I'm so proud of, and there's so much love in it, that we could get something like that wrong and sort of not know any better, not like, I'm really surprised. There's not too many of them, but as we go through season 1, we're almost done with season 1. There's a few of those moments where I go, boy, would I not say that same way. I just felt like it was important to own that. I think there will be more moments like that moving forward, but I think all you can do when you've made a mistake like that is own it, say and just say sorry, and just learn and try to do better and try to be more respectful. So I just wanted to bring that up because it feels weird to not say it. It jumped out at me. I love this episode, and again, no one in that writer's room is anything but an open, warm-hearted person. No one wanted to be throwing slurs around. But there it is. There is that wrong word in there, and I just want to say, from all of us, I know Carter very, very much feels the same way. Just our apologies for getting things like that wrong. We didn't know better, and we've learned.
It's like that Tony. I think it's Toni Morrison who says, when you know better, you do better. Like I think that's what this is about. So, I just to get back to the episode, Telepathy. When people ask me, like, what are some of your favorite How I Met Your Mother runners? I love Intervention. Banner is so funny to me. Yeah. But Telepathy is, I don't know why it's so funny, because one, I just love having to do the silent, it's like you have to be a silent film star in those moments. Like,
you're doing some good eyebrow acting in this.
Yeah. I mean, I think like our stand-ins would read the lines, right? And we would do just face acting.
We would record you. We recorded you at the top of the scenes, and we would play you back. Yeah.
That's right. But there's also something so I think the reason it's particularly funny is because when you become such dear friends with people, when you become a tribe, you have it. You have telepathy. I mean, you might get it wrong, you might not, but you do have so much unspoken between you, and there's so many furtive glances, and I know what you're thinking, or hitting under the table because you're both thinking the same thing. So I just thought it was a great way to deepen and reveal their friendship more. That they're, what do you say, one of our famous that's very Gene Shepherd, right? Our famous telepathic conversations. Yes, branding the thing and saying this is a historical document of this famous thing we did recurring. Yeah, because it's future Ted's story in his life. That's a famous known thing that his group would do. And were those fun to shoot, Pam? That's definitely felt like something you were not probably shooting on other sitcoms. It's so weird.
It was hilarious, and that's why I remember, because we wouldn't record, and then just to play it back and watch you
act to your own voice. Yeah, Josh is acting to his read, so that's why it's so good.
Hilarious.
I've heard from so many people, and we've talked about this, but I'm now friends with, like, my friend Nima grew up in Tehran in Iran, and he learned English from watching Scrubs and How I Met Your Mother and Friends. Like, that's how he learned to speak English. And I've heard it from so many people. But I think it's also funny as I watch this show, and I watch sometimes it'll occur to me like, oh, this is teaching people English, and it's also teaching them some incredibly strange words. Like, I thought about like hayseed, courtesan, cabron. I mean, they would know cabron, but there's just so many funny words and
weird
turns of phrase that they'd be like, what is that? Like, and then if you're like
busting your apple bag.
Yeah, busting your apple. But if a non-English speaker said, oh, I learned the word hayseed, I'm like, you're not going to use that much. Like, you don't have to keep that one in your back pocket. But I mean, I loved the first time Marshall cues up for lawyering Barney. There's something Jason would do, like his kind of like licking his lips and getting ready to lawyer someone was always so funny to me. I loved 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6, 1 out of 8 women in America is a prostitute. It's very funny. Bunch of naked dudes hanging brain.
He's made up.
I'd never heard that phrase before. I said good day was so funny.
Yeah, he's just waiting to get out the second half of that.
It also struck me that Barney is always waiting for Ted's love plans to get foiled so that he can jump in with that, so he can pull him over to the dark side. So he delights in this thing that's going on, He
also has a surprisingly expansive view in this one towards towards like prejudices against sex workers. He's kind of like, even though this woman is not actually a prostitute in the end, Barney sort of has a surprisingly progressive take of like,
he mounts like a beautiful defensive, yeah,
like kind of an evolved take and the right take.
Yeah.
Partisans are people like, come on, don't judge someone because of what they do. And of course, it's all complete bullshit, but he's right? I mean, if we're talking about like being a little more expansive and progressive minded, Barney actually sort of weirdly espouses some of that in this episode.
I loved use my full name. People get a kick out of it. Sandy Rivers was so funny.
He thinks he's so famous.
And you know what else? When Erin, who played Mary, who was so wonderful, shout out to Erin. But when she says the name of the law firm that she's a paralegal at, and Marshall's like, that's a real law firm. Nice. Like,
nicely done. It's so fun knowing he's wrong. And I mean, I think Chris Harris wrote this episode. He's very funny, but I think this particular joke was Stephen Lloyd, who's another truly genius HIMYM writer. And he was almost on all 9 seasons. Like we can't quite say that about him. Courtney Kang and Chris were door-to-door pilot to finale, but Stephen Lloyd joined somewhere in the middle of season 1. Right. And I believe pitched this joke, if I'm not mistaken, where she says the thing about talking about anal. Right, where she says, I had some guy riding me all day, talk about anal. We were so deliriously happy that we got that under the radar of the censors. And I think we did talk. I think we did talk about it with them, and we said, but it's not that she's not a prostitute. Like the logic of it is how we got it on there.
Like the censors had to have been having a good day that day for that to get through, because there were other jokes, I think, that were so much less risque that were dinged. You know, but that one, the fact that got through is incredible to me.
Amazing.
I also love when Ted says, when she says, you know, I've been whatever since I was 16, I'm going on dates. And he says, God, you were just a kid. Right.
That scene is so great. And Pam, that long walk and talk down that hallway, that was all a oneer, right? That's one camera pulling back.
I remember dollying back. It was just, again, we had time. We had no audience.
Right. And we can make a big, long hallway set like that ate up way too much real estate on a stage for if you had bleachers. It all comes back. So much comes back to that. What else jumps out to you, Pam, of like remembering the sense memory of directing this one? Like a shot like that.
A lot of laughing is really what I'm remembering. And I'm remembering just the pain in the neck of shooting that round table with everybody. There were so many setups.
Was there a huge fourth wall? A huge fourth wall was put up, obviously, but like, so that became fully enclosed.
When we needed it.
Huge.
And I'm thinking back to when you were just starting this podcast and you had the audacity to talk about the limo and say, was it just a limo? And I'm like, oh my God, how did they not remember the limo? The longest week of my life.
I said, Pam, we'll correct this when you're on the show. So tell us about the shooting the limo. We had all sorts of different ways to shoot it, right?
We had the front, we had the back, everything was on wheels. We kept rolling.
It was a chopped up car. There were sections, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it was don't worry, it's a simple episode next week, limo.
Like I said, we were young and stupid. The young and stupidness is a big theme of this episode of the podcast.
Turned out to be one of the all-time great episodes, so thank you.
You know what else strikes me for both of you about this episode? I often find that certain episodes themselves can be treacle cutters. Like after Drumroll Please, you have Zip, 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 which is a much lighter kind of episode. It's kind of a palate cleanser from the more serious stuff. After Nothing Good Happens After 2 a.m., you have this episode, which is just more like hard comedy. Like this is just like a really funny episode that has its tear-jerking moments or heart-tugging moments. Like, you know, I was really... Ted's face, I know it was my face, but Ted's face after he realizes Robin's going to thank everyone but him, really, it's tough. It's sad, you know?
It's really sad, that moment. I forgot how sad that moment was. But it's great. You needed it. It's what gives the show gravity, right? Those moments, Pam, those are the moments, right? You have to hold on. You can't rush through those.
And we didn't have to. Those are the moments.
And those are the moments I think that you and Sue and Carter and Craig, like you would, I'm noticing it more now. Like there's a lot of cut to a reaction of a person, Kobe and me or Ted and Robin, like really having a mask up. Kobe in particular, I think is just such a brilliant actor of like playing one thing but feeling another thing. Like she has a really great ability to like have her social mask up, but let the audience know that there's like something's roiling underneath. And you guys really honored and preserved those moments in the edit. Yeah.
Yeah, Sue was really good at that too. Sue loved you all, just like Pam loved you all. Like everybody felt like so attuned to your guys' performances, even in a cutaway, even in a no dialogue cutaway. And I think that was a huge part of the success of the show. And Pamela, you made it all happen.
I'm glad Sue would come down to the set and spend some time with us, because she would tell me like, I have such an intimate relationship with you guys, but you don't know me that well. Like I'm locked in a room with you guys all day long.
I watch you
Pam?
late at night.
Right.
I know how she feels.
It's sure. What a pleasure, guys. What
we
a
love
pleasure.
you. Thank you for being
I
here.
love
The
you
show
too. I love
is
you
only
so
the show
much.
because of you. And
Exactly.
it can't be overstated how you being the 99.9% director of the show made it what it was. Thank you so much for being with us today and always.
Thank you. Thanks for making it.
Pam Fryman, we love you. Well, that was just delightful. What a treat to have Pam Fryman in any part of your day.
Any day is better when Pam is a part of that day, even a small part of the day. It's just brighter day.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Pam. We love you. Please come back soon. And for the last section of the show, we like to close out with a written letter. We often open the show with a voice note, and we close with a written letter. If you would like to contribute either, please go to howwemadeyourmother.com. You can also go to HWMYM, HWMYM.
That's it.
.com.
That's it.
And go to contact and just follow the links. It should be pretty clear. If you want to submit something, we love to hear from you. We love to hear what the show has meant to you. And why you're still watching it after all these years, if you're showing your kids, like all the stuff. We love it all. So I just got back from Ecuador. I was in Ecuador for a couple days for a Comic-Con down there. That was totally delightful. I just loved being down in Guayaquil. I think that's where I was. But the people were so wonderful, and the enthusiasm for the show and, wonderfully for me, for other stuff I've made. But it was really wonderful to connect with, so many How I Met Your Mother fans. And I think, Craig,
So cool.
doing this show has, when Pam said, I'm a fan too, like it's really helping me become a fan of the show. I mean, I was a fan while we were making it, but it's so hard when you're so up close to it that I'm just finding the distance from it and the years have really softened my ability to look at it with like fresh and loving eyes, and also really appreciate when people, I can't tell you the amount of people who said, this changed my life. This show taught me everything about love. And, kind of like the opening testimonial we got. I'm so perpetually moved. And it does sound like people are saying maybe the same thing. It's not. If you listen, there's a lot of different varieties of this theme, but the theme holds true. This show met me at the right moment. This, a woman told me after a suicide attempt, this was the show that pulled her out of her depression. Wow. Like you don't realize that when you're making a comedy that has some heart to it, that feels honest, that also has some big laughs, some people you want to spend time with, it's life affirming in the deepest way. And people want to return to it. They want to spend time. It makes you feel like this earth place is hard, but it's an okay place to be.
Yeah. And that it sounds like a prepackaged idea, that idea of, it belongs to the fans now. I really understand how profound that is at this point. I've heard Mark Hamill talk about it in interviews about Star Wars. He's like, I'm just honored to talk about this thing with the people it belongs to now. And it's like, that's how How I Met Your Mother is now. And what an honor that and it belongs to everyone in a different way. Yeah. It meets them in some different way. And I'm really understanding that because of this podcast, I think, on a deeper level.
If someone comes up to us and says, I've watched the show 20 times front to back, there can be no question they know the show better than we know it. They know it. Yeah. Remember when I said, why'd they cut that line, nerds who suck at math, life's going to be rough, boys? I thought it was outside the club. And all these people were
It's
like, that's from
outside.
Best Prom Ever. You know, like they know immediately, like,
It's
that's
the
Best Prom Ever.
I know.
Right?
I didn't catch that ever either. Yeah,
I know.
Totally.
I know.
I've been corrected on that since too.
Yeah. I remember, I think
fan.
I mentioned this, but when Selena Gomez posted just How I Met Your Mother on her laptop, just the five of us sitting around talking at the bar. And I wrote in, what episode is this? Because I was curious. And all these people wrote back, they knew. Well, how did they know? Our clothes that we were wearing. Like,
Unreal.
that's how they knew. Because there was just beers on the table. There was nothing signifying it. Just bananas. I just love it.
HIMYM fans are the best and the smartest and the coolest.
Yeah. So I met a ton of them in Ecuador. I had such a lovely time. And someone handed me this note, and I only read it later, either later that night or the next day.
Okay. I've not heard it. Lay it on us.
This is someone who wrote me in Ecuador and hand delivered me this note. And this is what they said. Hi, Josh. You don't know me, but I wanted to write this letter from the bottom of my heart. I'm a content creator from Ecuador, not just a fan of yours, but someone who truly admires the beautiful person you are and how your character, Ted Mosby, has deeply influenced my life. I have dreamed of meeting you for a long time, mostly because of someone very special to me. His name was Alejandro. He was a mechatronics engineer who worked at Unilever. And earlier this year in January, he tragically passed away in the ocean, caught in a whirlpool. Alejandro wasn't just a friend. He was someone I loved, first as a teenage partner when I was 15, and later as a truly close friend. One of the strongest bonds we shared was How I Met Your Mother. He introduced me to the show, and for years we'd talk about it, especially about Ted. We saw ourselves in him, always torn between wanting to be with someone, learning to be alone, and holding on to the hope of a beautiful love. We often talked about how Ted's journey mirrored so much of what we were learning in life: emotional growth, letting go, timing, heartbreak, and still believing in love no matter what. Thank you for giving life to a character who wasn't perfect, but who grew, who let go, who learned, who hoped. Thank you for showing that love is not always linear, but always worth it. That friends can heal you, that change is constant, and that trusting love is always a brave thing to do. I admire you deeply, Josh, not just as an actor, but as a human being. Thank you for being here, and thank you for coming to Ecuador. It's a beautiful country, full of warmth and magic. I truly hope you get to experience more of it. This letter is part of my way of honoring Alejandro. I know wherever he is, he's probably jumping with joy, knowing I got to do this, to meet you, a dream we shared. I hope this letter brings you even a fraction of what your work has meant to me. With love and admiration, Millie Mershon.
My gosh. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for that letter. My God, love isn't always linear, but it's always worth it. It's incredibly well written letter. In addition to just being so nice of them to share.
Yeah, quite beautiful. Like quite a soulful person, and yeah, just I hear from people like, we fell in love over this show, or my friend and I went deeper in our friendship because of this show, and I really love, at the time, it was hard for me to play such a vulnerable, flawed character. I felt like I had to let people see these, it was me and not me, right? I had to let them see these parts of me that I was a little like, or a little embarrassed about, or a little like, no, these are parts of me I don't reveal all that regularly. But then I was asked to do it in front of millions of people every week. And to now see 20 years later that that's the very thing that people latch onto and respond to and love so much, his imperfections, right? I think I've said this quote, but like when we talk about our accomplishments, it breeds competition. When we talk about our vulnerability, it breeds community. So I think there's just, Ted is like, I think he's a classic character because he was so wrong so often. He was so much like us. He was drawing erroneous conclusions. He was thinking the paralegal was a prostitute. He was just constantly stepping on rakes, to reference The Simpsons we were talking about earlier. But he also he believed in love. He believed in his friends. He ultimately ends up believing in himself. And it was an honor and an honor to have played a part in people's lives. It's just, I can't overstate that.
I am guilty. Please acquit me. all sins are forgiven in New York City.
How We Made Your Mother is hosted and executive produced by Josh Radnor and Craig Thomas. The show was produced by me, Alec Lev, and our co-producer is Doug Matica. Our audio producer and mixer is Alex Reeves at Point of Blue Studios, and our digital content producer, aka Gen Z Master, is Emily Blumberg. Artwork by John Morrow. Please follow, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or your podcast player of choice. It really does help the show. Our theme song is NYC by our own Josh Radnor, with additional music by Craig Thomas and Andrew Majewski. Special thanks to Lola Kennedy and Elliot Connors. Visit howwemadeyourmother.com to sign up for our Substack mailing list and for links to our social media. You can also click on the contact page to send us an email or a voice message. Your stories and questions are an important part of the show. Want some merch? Click on the store link or go to howyougetyourmerch.com. Subscribe to Josh Radnor's Muse letters on Substack. Order Craig Thomas's debut novel at craigthomaswriter.com/novel. And you could subscribe to my Dead Fathers Society, also on Substack. To learn about how you make a difference, this show's ongoing campaign to raise money for congenital heart disease research, check out the Make a Difference tab at the top of our website. This episode was made possible by the support of Backyard Ventures. People will, in fact, dance.
The real question, it just hit me. Am I in love with you or just New York City?